Okay, what is assessment? No one has told. Okay, you can relate this thing with your project assessment. Like you do your minor projects, major projects, and we have to assess it, we have to give marks for it, we have to check it whether it is up to the mark or not, whether you have completed all the requirements or not. So in general terms, that is called as assessment. In the same way, the process that one organization is following, we have to assess it. So that is nothing but the assessment in simple terms. What is software process assessment? So we'll go through it, what is it, and I will tell you some more points about it apart from this slide that is given over here. But these are the main assessment objectives that you have to remember, and 2 3 terms will come up over here in this topic in a software process assessment that can come in your exam, and that are very important to remember. Now, this process assessment, it helps software organizations to improve themselves by identifying their crucial problems and establishing improvement priorities. I hope you understood this point. The major motive of this assessment, to do this assessment, is to identify the problems where the organization is lagging behind, and how they can improve and how they can set the priorities to work up. There are three basic objectives. Learn how the organization works, first thing, at what level they are on, initial level or the repeatable level or defined level. Generally, organization starts on level 2 or level 3 only. Then identify the major problems, the key areas where they have to work upon, either on their team or the resources that they are providing, the money they are putting into the projects, and the kind of their customers, their clients, what kind of customers they are, whether it is what level, large projects, small projects they are working on. So those kind of things, identify the problems into that. Third one, enroll its option leaders in the change process. That means you have to check out who are the leaders, who is the manager, and who are the team leaders. And if you want to change in the process in some activity, and you are feeling like there is a need that you have to change some person, apart from some team member, you have to hire someone new, or you have to make someone train, those kind of things it is talking about. Enroll its opinion leaders in the change process. So who is giving, mostly they are managers and team leaders only, and they have to identify these things, ki what are their requirements, and what they need more for the development of the project. Next thing, the essential approach to conduct a series of structured interviews with key people in the organizations to learn their problems, concerns, and creative ideas. Sometimes, why this line came over here in assessment thing, sometimes it happens that if the confidentiality is not maintained properly within the team, then it becomes difficult to talk to your team lead or your team manager about your problems that you are facing in on working with the projects. So you have to give those liabilities to your team members, to all the members, so that they can discuss with you. If you are a team lead, if you are a manager, and the manager and team lead, the relation between team lead and manager is also should be very much flexible, that they can discuss things about what is going on. And it should not be like कि because he is senior to me, so I have to hide some things, this work is not being done, I can't tell that. It should not be like that. It should be very much flexible between people, so that they can discuss their problems and they can come up with the ideas, new ideas, because every person has their unique ideas. So on the basis of that, uh, these things should be appended in the team. In real time work, it depends on the nature of the people who are in the team. It completely depends on that, how much they are into it. Otherwise, train your team members for these things. Now, next thing about software process assessment that you have to remember, the things that we have discussed till now, you can think it of it like it is an audit. In audit, it happens that an audit team comes to some organization for the checking purpose whether everything is running properly or not. But you cannot say the software assessment is an audit. It is not an audit. Some things are similar, but we don't say it. If in exam it the question comes up like do you think that software process assessment is an audit, then you have to write down no, it is not an audit. Software process assessment is a review of the software organization, you can say, to advise or to give them some of the points uh, to its management, to its professionals, on how they can improve their operation. I'm repeating this line if you have not got it properly. Software process assessment is not an audit. It is a review of the software organization. It is a review of the organization to advise the management of the organization and to advise the manager or another professionals of the organization on how they can improve their operations. That is called as software process assessment. Or you can again go through the first line to understand it properly. Now, there are some terms that you have to remember in software process assessment apart from these basic assessment objectives. Three objectives we have discussed, but apart from these, there are three terms that you have to remember. Sometimes it is also, it can also come in your exam as the phases of software process assessment. So I would say there are three terms or three phases of software process assessment. First one is the preparation, second one is the assessment, and third one is the recommendations. I have utilized three terms over here. First one is preparation, assessment, second one, third one, recommendation. What is preparation? So preparation, you can say, the senior management agrees to participate in the process and to take the actions on the resulting recommendation. So that is called as a prepare. You have to prepare yourself. The senior management they agree to participate in the process of the assessment. Okay, we have to find out the uh, our drawbacks where we are not working properly. So the management should be agreed with that. Okay, whatever will come up, we will take appropriate actions on that, and we will follow the recommendations which will come out of the assessment, or explain why not, and why not we should follow those recommendations that are coming out of assessment. So these things, sometimes it happens in a real time scenario that management doesn't agree with these things, and if some senior professionals are there, if some persons are there, they are not getting ready to accept the flaws in the process. So this thing creates problem if you are doing assessment over your process, or your development process, you can say. So that you have to remember. Preparation means get ready for whatever is coming out of the assessment. Get ready for the result, whether it is bad or good, whatever it is. So be prepared. First point, that is the phase one, you can say. Second one is the assessment. Now on assessment, what you have to remember, the second phase or second term, the on-site assessment period. When the assessment is going on, it takes some time. They have to check whether your process is involving all the requirement gathering phase properly, or designing is happening in a proper way or not, or testing, the tester is doing their work in a proper manner or not, and whether the people who are working in team, they are skillful or not, they are their work is satisfactory or not. So this complete process takes some time. So this on site assessment period, it takes several days of 2 to more weeks also, and it concludes with the preliminary report to local management. So there some report will be submitted to the management on which the recommendations will be checked out. And basically in assessment, what you have to remember, I will not complicate it. You have to remember that in assessment, the on site, whenever that period is going on of assessment, then it will take nearly 1 or 2 weeks. So you have to be prepared with all the resources required for the purpose. You have to show them the complete things that you are following, and this is called as an assessment. So I have told you two terms till now. First one is your preparation, second one is your assessment. Third one, the third phase or the third important term that you have to remember in software process assessment is your recommendations. What are recommendations? Final recommendations which comes as outcome of the software process assessment. of the testing that happens of the process, you can say. So those final recommendations are being presented to the local managers of the different teams, that the process that organization is following, there are some improvement, there is scope of improvement in that, or what things are good that you have to follow continuously, you should not stop following that. So those kind of recommendations will be submitted to the local manager, and a local action team is then formed to plan and implement those recommendations in the for the improvement or optimization of the process of organization, you can say. So I think this topic of software process assessment, till now what I have told you, what you have to remember in this particular topic: first, meaning of assessment. Assessment means we are checking out whether the process that organization is following is good or not. If it is good enough, it is going fine, then it is very nice. Otherwise, there is always a scope of improvement in things. So for that purpose, this assessment happens. Next thing that you have to remember in this topic is the basic assessment objectives, that is written over in the slide that you are watching right now. How organization works, you should be clear about it. Identify the major problems and the opinion leaders. You have to enroll its opinion leaders in the change process. Next thing that you have to remember, three important terms that you have to remember. First one is preparation, second one is assessment, and third one is recommendation. These very important terms, they can come up in the objective question also, or how question can come up in this particular topic. First question can come up like, what is software process assessment, define it. Second question can come up like, discuss about the objectives of software process assessment. Third question can come up like, discuss the phases of software process assessment. Or separately, definitions can come up on these terms that we have discussed. Okay. Now, next, I'm moving to next slide, is 5 assessment principles that you have to remember. What are these 5 assessment principles? We will go through them one by one. First one, this is also a separate question, can become like, discuss the assessment principles. First one is the need for a process model as a basis of assessment. The need for a process model as a basis of assessment. What is the meaning of this one? You have to start with a process model. Without a model, there is no standard, therefore the measure of change. That means, just give me a second. Yes. So what I was telling you, that the first point is about, okay, your process model should be there. You have to be ready with one model, what process you are following. Model in the way you can relate it with the flow diagram, which is showing that in what manner you proceed with the things. If some a stakeholder is coming up to invest money in the project, then what you do, first step what you are taking, then second step what you are taking. So that kind of model should be prepared. Without that, there is no standard, there is no measure of change. Without that, you cannot understand what organization actually is following to develop software products. Now second one, the requirement for confidentiality. So you have to observe in the team, or in the there is not only one team in one organization, there are several teams who are working on different projects that are going on for the organization. So the observe strict confidentiality. How it helps confidentiality means ke, suppose I'm the team lead in an organization, and there are 5 students who are working with me in that organization from your class, and we all are as working as one team. So as a team lead, I have to maintain that confidentiality. Confidentiality in general terms means I am ready to keep things personal as personal. If someone is discussing something with me, I have to keep it up to with me only, and I have to understand the problem of my team member. It should not be like ki I'm making fun of it. I'm trying to insult the person because of some problem, or some person is not ready, is not that much of skillful about the project, they want to learn something. So if someone is telling all these kind of things, then I have to maintain that confidentiality. How it will help? Otherwise, if you're not maintaining that, people will learn that they cannot speak in confidence. That this means managers can't be in interviews with their subordinates. You can understand it in the way like, okay, if I am not maintaining the confidentiality, people will stop um, sharing things with me, even regarding to the projects. So that's why the requirement of confidentiality is very much required. The second principle, first principle was about process model should be there, second principle is about confidentiality should be there. Third one involves senior management. Involvement of senior management is very much required, because the senior manager sets the organization's priorities. The site manager must be personally involved in the assessment and its follow up actions. So that manager involvement and the higher authorities involvement is very much required. If out of assessment some recommendations are coming up, they have to make some plans, they have to make a separate team to take actions on those. So if that involvement will not be there, the people who are working under them, they will not take it seriously. That is the meaning of this. Fourth one, attitude of respect for the views of people in the organization must be assessed. Very important point, because the individual's attitude defines how they are willing to work in a team or willing to work in an organization. If you are always like a person who just complain about things, this is not correct, that is not correct, things are never in the order. Even in our real life also things are not in order, but we have to make them into order. So the attitude of respect for the views of people, if someone is telling you, your some intern has joined in the organization and they are working with you in the team, and that person is telling ki I don't know much about this particular programming language or this designing part, then you should tell them to learn, or you should guide them. So you have to respect the views of the people. If someone is giving you advice, even if your junior is giving you advice on something to improve, you have to at least listen. So that attitude of respect should be accessed in the organization. Last one, an action orientation. Action orientation means key implementation considerations. You have to the consider whatever the recommendations are coming up, and you have to check whether those changes are of small level or medium level, or you have to make big changes. According to that, you have to plan and you have to orient it. So an action orientation means just after getting recommendations, you have to take some action over it. So that these are the five principles, and here this topic gets over of software process assessment. I will again tell you. First, we have discussed about what is assessment, meaning of it, its objectives. Then there are three very important terms or three phases you can remember in that way. These are preparation, assessment, and recommendations. And then we have discussed about principles of assessment. So this is called as software process assessment in model. I hope you understood the topic. What is it about? If you have understood it well, you can make your own answers also. Next one. Now we are going to discuss all the processes one by one. First one is initial process. If you remember in the maturity framework, the initial process, I told you how you can understand this initial process, then defined level, managed level, optimizing level. So this initial process, I told you, if you remember, just remind yourself what we have discussed. It is about the priorities are not being set, We don't know what will be the input and what will be the output of the product or the project that you are working on, software project. And the things are very much uncontrolled. You have no control over them. You don't know what resources are available. You don't know how much budget is available. So why this disorganization happens? So this initial process, the major part is, you have to remember, the things are not professional, the things are very much unmanaged, the things are very much unplanned. If organization is working like that, it is called as level 1 organization. Level 1 organization, initial process. That means organization is not properly managed. They don't know anything, what to do, where to go, how to approach the clients, how to get the projects, and how to set up the teams, how to provide them resources. That means the organization of level 1 we are talking about, they are very poorly managed. That is initial process. Now, why organizations are chaotic, why they are disorganized, why they are not doing work in a proper manner? So what you have to see, first thing, the very important thing, you have to estimate the schedules, you have to estimate the budget. These are very important things, of what level of project you can take. After that, you have to see what resources are required for that. So lack of all these things make things kind of like very much disorganized. So we will just go through these points. While lack of commitment discipline is a common reason for chaotic behavior, there are other forces also. Commitment discipline means that you are not committed to the work. Even the person who has started the organization, because any organization or any firm doesn't run with only one person. People are required. And if the person who has developed, who has set up that organization is not serious enough for the organization, then obviously there will be problems. So lack of commitment is first point that you have to remember over in initial processes. Lack of commitment, unplanned activities, unmanaged activities. Apart from that, first point, under extreme pressure, software managers make a guess instead of a plan. The guess is usually low, so chaos develops. What is the meaning of this line? Okay, suppose I am the owner of one organization, or you can consider yourself, that you are the owner of some organization. You have started this organization and you have hired one manager for it. You can take an example of some restaurant, that I have had hired a manager for that particular organization. But uh, my attitude towards him, my the way I communicate with him is like, the manager is not comfortable to talk to me. It's like he feels like I am the owner, I am the authority, and he is working under me. That kind of relationship we have in an organization with that manager. Now, if I'm telling them, okay, we some project is coming, and I'm telling to my manager, we have to work on it, and under extreme pressure, now manager is not that comfortable to talk to me, that resources are not there, team is not ready to work on this project, then what that manager will do, under that pressure, the manager will just trying to convince me that yes, we will do that. Instead of making some plan, he will just make a guess. So that happens under pressure. Like these things must be happen with you also as a student. Okay, if suddenly some authorities are coming up in your class and you are not ready, you are not listening in class properly, and suddenly principal sir comes and asks you some question, then you get confused what to say, and under some pressure you start making guesses. Okay, I should not be quiet, but I have to say something to convince them, yes, I'm good enough. So that kind of situation comes up in the organization if there is only pressure, if your staff is not comfortable with you, and they are not telling you what things are required. So that is about first one. Second one, when things get rough, there may be strong temptation to believe in magic, a savior, or new technology may be the answer. So what is the meaning of this thing? Sometimes what happens, okay, if things are not planned properly, and If something is like the resources are not clear, you don't have skilled people in your team, you don't have skilled manager, you don't have skilled team leader, and even the budget is not there. If things are getting rough and if you are not able to manage with the things, then a savior or new technology may be the answer. Means कि you should follow the latest things that is going in the market, and you should focus on that one. That can save you. If your staff is not enough, at least start doing marketing on the basis of the latest technology, or try to get your staff, hired staff, train on latest technology, or try to get hire those people who are already trained on those latest technologies. So that can become a savior for the level 1 organizations that it is telling. Third one, the scale of software projects normally follows an escalating cycle. The like basically what is the meaning of it? The scale of software projects defines, it depends what kind of project you are taking, and it depends what kind of stakeholders are coming to you, the clients you are working with. And if project is very small, then it's okay. But if the project is very large, escalating cycle means it keeps on changing. And sometimes it also happens कि, if your organization, you are thinking like you will provide them with all the requirements, you are not clear about it कि at what level of projects you are working on, then you can make it really messy with the clients by giving them false hope. So these kind of things happen with level 1 organizations. I'm not diverting the topic towards something else. We are talking about organizations who are of level 1. Those organizations which are very much disorganized, which are very much unplanned, which are very much unmanaged. So what are the things that is making it to happen that they are so much disorganized? What things they are not taking care of? So those things we are talking about right now. So just to maintain the pace, I said this thing. Now next point, programs take more code than expected. So obviously skills are required. If you are thinking like in starting in our sometimes it happens like as a student also, if 2 3 people are discussing on which project we have to work, then just in fantasy we make big commitments that we can work on this thing, we can work on that thing. But actually as per the knowledge, as per the skill, it is not feasible. First you have to learn about it, and then decide whether you are really able to implement it or not. So that it is talking about, it takes more implementation part than expected. Initially we think yes, okay, it will be done, but no. The when the real situation happens, real situation comes, then you go to know okay what you have to do. So those kind of things are not clear in level 1 organizations. Next one, as the programs become larger, new technical and management issues arise. Since these are unlike previous experience, they are a surprise. So obviously it is very common situation, and in real life unexpected things comes up. So while working in any organization, when you will be joining in some organization, you will see this thing by yourself that unexpected situations will come up, unexpected requirements will come up, and you have to work on it. Maybe in less number of days you have to complete it, under deadline pressure you have to work. So those kind of situations, so you have to be ready. It should not be like you are telling to your staff okay, everything will be okay. No, you have to get them ready, you have to train them, you have to motivate them. And that becomes some of the upper level organizations. Last one, I will not bore you with this complete only text. So we'll just go through this last one and we will see what we have done. Even after a higher maturity level is reached, new management, increased competition, or new technical challenges put pressure on processes, then an organization may revert to the initial process. Oh, what is the meaning of this? If some pressure is increasing after completion of the products, and if even the organization is working on some they are going on a correct pace, but while coming on the maintenance phase, some situations have arisen up that organization is not able to handle them, then organization suddenly falls down to the initial process. That is the meaning of this last. So with this one, I am ending today's presentation, and there's only less than 1 minute left. So if meeting will end up, don't think like, yeah, I ended it up. So we have discussed some points. Initial process we have covered up, and we will continue with the same in the next class, and we will move to the repeatable process. Mm. So I think it is not that much difficult, and we will complete this unit one in a very soon. And I will tell you again before this ends up, please go through that maturity framework again and again. You should know those on tips. You should have those